everybody, Tom Vasel here. Welcome back as we continue to go through the different heroes of X-Men United. So last time we did my 10 least favorite. Now we're at 70 to 61, which means these are characters, at this point we're going to have some characters that I'll gladly play with them, right? But I have to rank some lower than the rest, so these are just the ones that are down in this section. So let's get started with number 70. Okay, so now we have Psylocke. She's the first in today's 10 at number 70. Psylocke has some decent movement. We'll take a look at her cool sword miniature. That's kind of nice. My problem with Psylocke is her special cards. That's why she's lower on the list. Psylocke has this add a stun token to a villain or henchman, which is a great card. The ability is great, but it has an attack at the bottom, and I would really prefer to have this with a move so that you can get to the villain. And her telepathy card, which lets you swap this with a previous card in the story. That's great. Swap it with a double wild or something. But then it only has a movement here at the bottom, which makes it a little less exciting. And I guess that's what it is. I don't think Psylocke's a bad character. She's just not a particularly exciting one. When I get the chance to play her, I'm like, oh, okay. And that's why she's number 70. Coming in at 69 is Cannonball. Cannonball is an interesting character in the Marvel Universe, although his power is it's such an odd power. He's basically invulnerable when he flies around, and they kind of try to do that with his specials here. So, for example, move, he gets a move token, and you can't take any damage to the beginning of your next turn. Okay, that's fine. And then he has move, and this turn, when you do a move, you get an extra attack token. Great, but he has one, so he's going to get one attack token when he does this. If you have other move tokens, you might be able to use it and get a bunch of attack tokens. It's possible to line this up to be amazing. But I think Cannonball's best if you play him with somebody else who also has move, and if you have two characters with a lot of move, then I feel like the balance of your team is a little off. So that's kind of why he's down here. I mean, again, when it comes to movement, he is one of the best in the game for that, which makes sense with his powers. And so his character, which I don't know why I still had Psylocke there from the last one, but his character is also a pretty cool miniature here. I really like this one, and this is one that would look pretty good painted. Okay, Banshee, finally he has the card that I want. The one that lets you attach a stun token to a villain or henchman, and their BAM is canceled, and he has the movement on the bottom. That's the combo I want. And he also has an attack here with a double attack in an adjacent location. Although, sometimes I want that combo together. Banshee's fine, and this is kind of where I put the fine characters. I don't know, when I played him, I was like, yeah, I enjoyed him, but then I forgot about him completely, which is probably why he glided down to this section here. He always did have a weird ability that he glides, but anyhow, his model's okay, but definitely one that needs to be painted. So do you want a jack of all trades and master of none? Well, then you're gonna get Havok. Although, without these cards, also Havok has the very special ability that he cannot be damaged by one of Cyclops' first class abilities. I don't know, it was an odd thing. We'll get to that when we get to Cyclops' first class. I think I would have Havok actually higher if these cards had any icons on the bottom. I don't mind doing 3 damage to an adjacent location. I just don't know if I like doing that at the expense of giving the next character nothing. Here, getting a move, getting an attack token, not taking any damage to the beginning of your next turn, that's pretty solid. And he has kind of a nice array here. Heroic, attacking, some really strong attacks, but they don't help the opponents. So he's another character that's fine. This just really bugs me to have those there. All right, now we have Cloak. And I'm going to spoil the next one. It's Dagger, because Dagger and Cloak go together. By the way, I thought it was kind of Cloak has such an awesome figure, and Dagger is such an awesome figure, and they're supposed to kind of go together. I just thought it was sad that they didn't make a change in her base so you could put them together. I thought that would be a cool, they have that kind of cool pose that they can have. But Cloak is a cool figure. Here's the deal. You have to use Cloak and Dagger together. If you do not, then I would rank them almost like 79 and 78. Honestly, they would be that low. Cloak has this Dark Force teleportation, which when you play it, you can use move to move to any location. That's great. If Dagger's in the location, she can move with you, which is neat. So whenever he moves, as long as his card isn't turned over, he can go anywhere. The problem is I don't know that his other cards are great. Dagger can draw up to 3 if she's in your location. Okay, fine. And Dark Force channeling, it sounds fun. Like you take a henchman and Cloak out of play, you put them back in, and then do 2 damage to that henchman. I like that. But so few of the villains use henchmen these days, so he's very specific. That's the thing with Cloak. If you're playing a villain with henchmen, and you're also playing with Dagger, then it works together as a combo. But if you're not doing that, then he's just not very useful. Without Dagger, I'm not using Cloak. And it's going to be the same way with her. But I like the art on the cards, I like the model, I like the idea, but yeah, they're lower because of this. So Dagger is here right next to Cloak because, again, you got to kind of use them together. I have her higher than Cloak, even though her special ability is not as good. Her starting card is that as long as it's face up, if you start your turn with 2 or more cards in your hand, you can immediately do a free heroic action. That's not bad. I think I'd rather have the free heroic or move. They're both good. And then her card that works with Cloak is if Cloak's in her location, it benefits her. Benefits him, that he can draw 3 cards in his hand, the same card he has towards her. But other than that, she's by herself then. She can turn thugs into civilians and rescue them. She can hit 3 different targets in the location. That's pretty good. And her stats, there's a lot of heroic stuff with her stats. Her model's another one of the models that I really would like to be painted, because when it's not painted, it looks like she's wearing like she's holding this big hair thing that you stick in your hair. But yeah, I don't know. I like them both when you use them together, and I considered putting them in as a single character, because if you're not using, if you're not going to use Cloak, then Dagger's less useful, and if you're not using Dagger, Cloak's a lot less useful. Now we move to the first of 4 Wolverines that X-Men United made. Yes, 4 out of 80 characters. 1/20th of this game is Wolverine. This one is Old Man Logan. Yes, I know he's technically Wolverine from an alternate universe who fought a bunch of Hulks. Yeah, so on. He's the only character who comes with a bottom of the deck card and also a starting card, but they kind of work together. His starting card is Retired. Retired gives you 2 fighting tokens, but as long as his card is face up in the storyline, you can't use fighting tokens to attack. Okay, that's fine. And then many of his cards, he has 4 tired of fighting cards in his deck. If it's face up, you get another fighting token. And then you can ignore a damage. Now, that's cool. And if you can get this Old Man Logan card out, you get 4 of those tokens, and then you flip Retired face down. Also, it's a wild. If you notice, though, other than his wild symbols, he has no attack. He has a lot of movement, a lot of single icons, and he has stars. So basically, the way you play him is you're trying to cycle through his deck to get to that Old Man Logan so that you can grab those tokens and throw them out. The problem is if sometimes Retired's flipped over early by the villain, which is really annoying, because then all these tired of fighting cards don't work. And many times, you don't get to that final card in your deck, which is also annoying. And I found that the idea of him's great. I have not yet pulled it off. But if you can get to the cards and you have a bunch of tokens, Old Man Logan's going to walk up to the villain and just shred them. Literally. But unfortunately, because it doesn't happen as much as I'd want it to, because of that, I just can't put him higher on the list at this point in time. So Gwenpool, which is probably a model a lot of people are going to love because it comes with this little land shark and she's carrying a bazooka. And Gwenpool, who I think singularly is, for me, the most annoying character in the Marvel comic universe. She's not as bad as Deadpool to play here, and she's not even part of the Deadpool set, but she's essentially that. She comes with Jeffrey the land shark. That's her one that she starts with. And if it's face up at the end of your turn, she can do a damage to a thug or a henchman that she didn't damage this turn. Well, that's great for thugs, henchmen. That means you didn't hit them prior. So it's not a bad card. She has a lot of special cards. This flipping 2 cards in the storyline can be good or bad. The fact is, you have to do it. I don't know. There's no consequences in a fictional world. Not a fan of this one because you do 1 damage to everything in your location for each card you discard, but discarding is bad, and it kills civilians. It can work, but and then this one here is the same one that Cloak has, where she can pull out and put back in, but again, there has to be henchmen for it to work. She's fine, and she's silly. She's not overly silly, which is why I have her ranked higher than Deadpool, but and her special cards are kind of cool. I like using them. But if you take her special cards out of the equation, her stats aren't particularly great, which is why she's lower on the list. I don't know why. I don't know if it's possible that my personal dislike for this annoying character in the Marvel Universe, I don't like Longshot, put him lower. I try not to let that affect me. Because Longshot does have really good special cards. So he has 2 special cards. One's the healing factor, which is a wild and lets him draw up to 3 cards, which of course means I draw this at the beginning of the game. But this card is amazing. Look at the top 3 cards of the Master Plan deck, then place them on the top in any order. We already talked about a character who can look at the top card. That's cool, but looking at the top 3, putting them any order you want, is a pretty powerful thing to be able to pull off. And I like that. Everyone knows what these cards are. You now know how to manipulate them. It's fantastic. The problem with him is that his stats aren't very interesting. He's one of the weakest attackers in the entire game, and the rest of his stats just don't get me excited. And maybe there's the character involved too, but that's why he's lower on the list for me at this point. But man, this probably manipulation is one of my favorite cards in the game. Apocalypse is a weird one for me because I think that he's probably a pretty powerful character, but he's lower on the list because I don't know that I want to play him that often. Also, he's not a hero. I don't care what they say. So Apocalypse, you can see he has only 2 cards that are not special cards, barring the wilds, but he has a lot of black on his cards, which means these are things you got to do. Like Survival of the Fittest, great. It's a move and attack. And then he does a damage to everything, including the other heroes, and then gets rid of all the civilians, and then turns the card face down so the next person can't use it. He has 3 of those. Here he gets 2 wild tokens, but then he turns the card face down, so he doesn't share those with people. So even this wild doesn't get used. Here you must draw 2 cards, and then turn the card face down. He's powerful. I mean, look at his stats. They're great. Look at all the wilds he has. But he doesn't work well in a team, which thematically makes a lot of sense, but also thematically means I'm not so sure I want to use him that often because he just doesn't work with the other people that much. He's powerful, which has risen him above 19 other characters, but he's not going higher than that for me. Well, there you go. Numbers 70 through 61. You might disagree with some of these. Some of these could be your favorite characters. Let me know in the comments. And again, I would play with some of these. And some of them I have mixed emotions on, like Apocalypse. I don't know what to do with him. But we'll see. We got many more cool characters coming your way to talk about in our next video. Until then, I'm Tom Vasel, and this is the Dice Tower.